Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some super easy, very fast sugar cookie icing. So let's get started. First off, in a medium bowl, I'm adding 1 cup or 120 grams of powdered sugar, and you definitely want to sift it out because chances are you're going to be piping this and any lumps will clog your piping tip. Give it a sift. I love getting, receiving, eating, and decorating sugar cookies, especially on the holidays. However, royal icing can be quite involved and some people don't like the idea of using egg whites in an icing. Sugar cookie icing only has a couple ingredients. It is so fast and easy, and it's really easy to handle as well. In this video, I'll show you how to make the icing and use it because it's just a little bit different than royal icing. Aside from it tasting delicious and being really easy, I love that this icing is so glossy. It gives you like a mirror finish and makes your cookies look really professional. Push any lumps through with a spoon. The magic ingredient here is 2 teaspoons of light corn syrup. Just a tiny bit is going to give you a few crucial things. Your icing will be nice and shiny. It's going to have a nicer texture, and all this powdered sugar won't crystallize, so it'll prevent that. And just in case you're wondering, light corn syrup is not the same as high fructose corn syrup. Those are different. This is actually not even that sweet compared to the mountain of sugar we're pouring it on. Of course, you'd like some flavor. You can go with traditional vanilla. I, however, like using almond extract. One, I love the flavor, and it's also completely clear, so my cookies won't have any darker tinge to them. The whites will be pure white. 1/4 teaspoon. I'm using almond extract. You could use the traditional vanilla, or there are so many other flavorings. A little drop of lemon juice. You could use lemon or orange blossom extract, rose water, coffee extract. Any flavor will be lovely in this. My scale's done. We're gonna mix this together, and there's almost no liquid in here, so we need to add some milk to give us a nicer consistency. Start off with 1 teaspoon and then keep going all the way up to probably a tablespoon. A tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. A little milk. As long as this icing doesn't dry out, meaning you have it ready in a piping bag or you've popped into a sealed container, it's gonna keep for a while. So you can make this in advance and then have your cookie decorating day later. I know that during the holidays we get very busy, but have high ambitions, and staging your workout is one way that you can do more. With some mixing, we have some crunchy nonsense that does not look anything like icing, meaning you need to add more milk. My 3rd teaspoon. Another teaspoon of milk. I really do prefer the taste of this to royal icing. It's personal, but it has just a very nice consistency, and there's a time and a place for eggs, and it's not always in your icing. So I added a tablespoon of milk in, and it seemed very thick. 1 teaspoon more, bringing a total to 4, gives me what I think is a perfect consistency. This is falling off, making ribbons, and it's nice and smooth. I switched to a spatula just because it was easier. You can feel free to do the same or use a whisk. But when you're making this icing, there's no need to pump a lot of air in, so I'm not trying to whisk my heart out. I just want to mix it together until it's nicely combined. And of course, you can double or triple this recipe as desired. Make a big batch. Maybe you're having a cookie decorating party. This would be the perfect thing to make. The last thing to mention, and it might be the most important, is the consistency. If you've done any cookie decorating before or watched the videos, you know that there's 2 kinds of consistency. The piping the edge consistency and flooding. Basically for royal icing, you have a thick layer that defines the boundary, and then you have the exact same color that's mixed up to be thinner in consistency, and that floods the boundary you've created. And that's how you make one area of color. Here, we want 1 consistency for every color, and it should be like a thicker flooding consistency. You want it to be smooth, you want it to be pipeable, but it shouldn't be very thin and watery. The way we decorate cookies using this icing is also different. So now I'm going to show you how to color it and how to use it. Divide your icing into as many batches as you'd like. And as I mentioned earlier, you can of course double, triple, quadruple the recipe. It's very easy to make a big batch. I'm using a gel-based food coloring. It's my favorite kind because it's super concentrated, and you don't have to use a lot. If you're using a water-based food coloring, like the kind you'd get at the grocery store, you're gonna end up using more. It's gonna thin the icing out a bit, and that means that you should have your consistency slightly thicker than you think you need it. Mix the color in as desired. Colors up really beautifully. A little bit of yellow. I have another batch that I made already that's in the piping bags ready to go. And you can see the color is great and the consistency isn't too watery. My colors are all mixed up. Let's get this into a piping bag the easy way. This can be a frustrating part about cookie decorating. So open up your piping bag and invert it halfway. Pop that into a glass. And now you can pour your frosting in without making a mess. If you're making this with kids like I do, chances are the kitchen will be messy enough. Or if you're anything like me and I'm just a disaster. All right. You'll notice I didn't add any piping tips on. You just don't need it most of the time, especially for this kind of icing and cookie decorating. Twist that off and it's ready to go. By the way, if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week. It's always something delicious around the corner. Once you're ready to decorate your cookies, it's super easy. Snip the very tip off your piping bags. And now you're just going to trace around and fill it in. Don't add too much though, because then things will get messy. So start with less. You're not going to use that much of this icing. It also helps if you start making contact, lift the edge and let that kind of trail. Understanding you can fix things later, and it's a cookie, so it's no big deal if it's a little bit messy. Now that it's outlined, we can fill it in. Just go back and forth. And if you want, you can trace around the edge, make little compartments, and fill those in. You can see it kind of floods into itself pretty easily. Oh my gosh, I'm an artist. Depending on the thickness of your icing, as well as the humidity, it could take up to 24 hours for this to harden. So you don't want to stack your cookies right away. You do want to let a skin develop if you want to add more details on top. So I'm going to set this cookie aside, do a couple more, and then we'll come back to it and add some ornaments, add the tree trunk, and then we can call it a day. You can also add sprinkles, sanding sugar, or all sorts of decorations on top, because this is going to be like beautiful, delicious glue. It'll hold everything on while it's wet. I'll show you what that looks like. For the snowflake, we'll do the same thing with white or light blue. As you get the hang of this, it'll be much quicker. At the beginning, it might be a bit slow. Just like with royal icing, what'll make this easier is if your piping tip is not touching the cookie, it's leading the icing where it needs to go. So you're letting gravity help you out. It's good for those of us who will never be surgeons and have shaky hands. And honestly, that looks pretty to me. Like, I would definitely present a cookie that's just an outline. You could do a piped shape on the inside. It does not have to be fully flooded. But I'm gonna do it anyways. Fill that in and you can get the gaps. You don't have to be too precious when you're flooding. I delved into my sprinkle jar and I have these beautiful sprinkle pearls. They will fit right on, just like that. And they look so nice. And yes, I have kitchen tweezers. Calling it a day. That looks so nice. I love the way this icing pipes. It is so easy, and you can see just that little bit of corn syrup created a glossy, mesmerizing finish. I encourage you to be careful with your completed cookies and place them aside so your elbow doesn't go on. I've learned this the hard way. If you want to do 2 colors next to each other, give the first one a beat to dry. And then here, I want the top of my stocking to have a little bit of a Christmas glitter situation. So I'm gonna sprinkle sanding sugar on top while it's wet. Here we go. Tap the excess off. And now I can just keep going. The sugar's gonna hold everything together. Okay, now flood that up. If you're doing something that has a lot of different colors, do one set first, let it set for a bit, and then once it's on the drier side, you can add more colors, just so it doesn't bleed. You can see how easy and forgiving this is. If you're struggling to close gaps in the middle, just use a toothpick and zigzag it together. That'll work great. You can make this frosting a day ahead and just keep it in piping bags like this or a Ziploc bag. If you want to make it well in advance, it keeps in the fridge for up to a week. So you can definitely make this ahead, have it ready. And I know that during certain times of the year, kids will love to decorate cookies, and you can kind of make that much easier by having your cookie dough frozen and ready to roll out, or even already baked, and your icing at hand, pre-colored. If you pipe wet onto wet, then you can use a toothpick and just drag it into patterns that look very pretty. Decorate to your heart's content, and just like that, your sugar cookies with delicious sugar cookie icing are ready to enjoy. It tastes great, it looks great, it's super easy, and I love how the icing kind of seeps into the cookie and softens it. It is so delicious. I hope you get a chance to make this easy recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my Christmas playlist.